People who have pretended to fall asleep. What is something interesting you've overheard? I remember way back I couldn't sleep on Christmas Eve, you know, being a little kid and all. So during this sleepless night, where I guess my parents thought I was asleep, I heard my dad say, "Where do you think we should hide the new puppy?" That was pretty much at the top of my list, so naturally I was excited that I was getting a puppy. They talked for a good 20 minutes about the puppy, saying things like how should we keep it from barking before he finds him? Before I dozed off. Next morning, I discovered that my parents knew I was awake and just decided to F with me. There was no goddamn puppy. I got a Gamma Boy though, so it wasn't too bad. When I was 6/7, I remember staying up late without the babysitter realizing whilst my parents were out. I remember when they came back home I was so worried about getting into trouble for still being awake that I pretended to be asleep. Mum came in the room asking whether or not I was awake. I stayed quiet and then she just sat down on my bed. She was quiet for what felt like forever, but was probably only a couple of minutes before she bent over, stroked my hair, and kissed the top of my head whilst telling me how much she loved me and how much I meant to her, and then she tucked the covers around me tighter and left. To this day it's my favorite memory of her, and one I've never shared with anyone. Was spending the night at a friend's house. I'm a guy, she's a girl. Brought my friend over because we were out partying. We all slept in the same room. I was laying on the floor near my friend when I heard my friend Andrea call my name. Wanting to sleep, I ignored her, not moving, to which she responded, "Okay, Andy, I think he's asleep. Come here." About 5 minutes later I hear the bed squeaking and her soft moans. One of them sneezed about 15 minutes into it, in which I responded, "Bless you." They immediately stopped. 10/10 were due again. Must have been about 16, 17ish. Was staying at a friend's house who was with his girlfriend. He was the first in our circle to have ex, and he effing loved to brag about it. How much of a natural he was, how surprised his girlfriend was that she was his first, all that cliche bollocks. We all just laughed, let him have his fun, and got on with it. Anyway, back to being at his place with her. I go and crash early on the floor of their room, in a kick-ass little blanket pile with her dog. It was great. I was just getting bored of him rampantly flirting at her like a brain-damaged peacock. So, about a half hour later, they come in, and of course they start F-ing. I honestly think they forgot I was there or something. I hear very loud kissing, a few Batman grunts, a bit of whimpering. They had started and finished in less than a minute. So I'm lying, curled up in the corner of their room under blankets and a dog, listening to my friend cry in shame, while his girlfriend was finishing herself off. That was a great night. When I was a kid, my mom would make my brother and me take naps for like 45 minutes. I pretended like I was sleeping, and I heard my mom talking on the phone to my grandma. During the conversation I assume my grandma asked what my brother and I were up to, because she said Imhali's brother is sleeping and Imhali is pretending to be asleep. I was like, F. She said she knew I was faking because my mouth was closed, and whenever I'm actually asleep my mouth is slightly open. Ever since that day, whenever I'm pretending to be asleep for whatever reason, I keep my mouth slightly open. Thanks for the tip, Mom. Weekend retreat at church camp. My buddy and another friend's girl and I ended up in a room with 2 bunk beds. We were chilling when I realized that I was the third wheel, so I powered down. First there were tests to see if I was awake, then she climbed to his top bunk, then kissing, then her moaning, then her telling him he should wash his hand. I got bored and did some fake sleep talking. They laughed and continued, but they called it a night without rounding home. She left, and I figured it was best to not give high fives till the next day. I don't know why I waited until we were at his house. Maybe she rode back with us. Still, it was my first time playing Super Nintendo, and as he handed me the controller that would introduce me to Yoshi, I asked him, "You did wash your hands, right?" He was so thrilled to get to talk to someone about it. When I was 8, on Christmas Eve I overheard Santa eating the cookies and drinking the milk. Later he opened the fridge and ate a large chunk of a cake and ran around the living room smearing the cake everywhere. Santa was our dog. At a sleepover, do you think he's circumcised or not? Night after drinking with friends, I wasn't really pretending, more trying to keep my head from spinning. I overhear my buddy say to my other friends, say, I wonder how easy it is to smother someone to death. Was in this messed up relationship with my ex-husband when I was pregnant with my second kid. We had a roommate, female, but we would all have sex with each other because we were young and free-spirited or something. Anyway, I pretended to be asleep one night because I didn't feel like having sex that night and didn't want to turn anybody down or make up an excuse. My ex-husband and the roommate got to talking in the next room. The bedroom door was open, so I could hear them pretty clearly, and she asked him why he married me anyway. His response, I just didn't know what else to do at that point, seemed like the next logical step, and I took it. I honestly wish I hadn't done it, and I wish I was single right now living life, but now I have this effing family, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna get out. Hit me real hard. A French girl I met in a hostel came into where I was sleeping and just sat there. I had just cut it off with her, so I didn't want to deal with her so I pretended to be asleep for a few minutes. She just mumbled random she was pretty drunk. Finally, what got me up was when, in the cutest French accent, she told me she was going to set me on fire in my sleep. I should have mentioned that. Yes, I did sleep with her again after that. Sometimes you gotta do messed up to stay not on fire. I was drunk at a party and couldn't fathom the world, so I lay down, closed my eyes in a dark room. I heard two of my friends come in. One came over to me and poked me in the ribs and said, it's fine, he's asleep. Then proceed to talk about how both of them were cheating on their boyfriends and who at the party they wanted to F. A screaming match involving the line, I want you to say one nice thing about my kids. 1. Followed by silence and door slamming. I was less than 3 feet away as one of my best friends took a 19 years virginity. We traveled from the Bay to LA to attend a rave with some girls we met at EDC a few months prior. After all the partying took place, one buddy took the older sister to his car and my other buddy started making moves on the younger sister. I was sleeping on the floor and was petrified because I felt like if I moved, it would kill his game. So I sat through the most awkward exhale experience of my life to help him get laid. It was short and sporadic, but they both seemed to enjoy it, I think. So I think I made the right decision pretending to be asleep on the floor as they bunny humped on the bed literally 2.5 feet from me. I was pretending to be asleep in a hostel dorm room because I didn't want to deal with others. Girl and a guy started F-ing in the bed across from me. She was on top and came with yay horsey, yay, wee yee. I was sleeping without a shirt. My dad told my mom he has a nice build. I hope they didn't notice me smile. Didn't necessarily overhear anything, but I pretended to fall asleep when I was about 12 because I heard someone coming into the room that my younger sister and I shared and thought it was my mom who would yell at me for being on my iPad at 2 AM. Turns out it was a robber with a crowbar. He just peeked into the room and went out when he saw us, and they're really glad I didn't realize until the next morning who it was. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I'd realized some strange man was in my room at 2 AM. I heard my roommate on a cruise ship getting viciously and sloppily finger-banged for over an hour while the guy kept saying to her to guess how many fingers are in you now. Pretended to be asleep at a sleepover. Heard my supposed friends planning to throw my clothes in the tree. F middle school. This will probably get buried, but here goes. One night during high school, my friend and I got invited to a party. I didn't drive back then, so my friend picked me up. All went well on our way to the party. On the way back, however, he got pulled over. As we were pulling to the side of the road, I told him that I was gonna pretend to be sleeping since I was the passenger. Anyway, I hear the cop get out of his cop car, walk towards our car, stops at the window, but doesn't say anything. I can feel the brightness of his flashlight, but I don't hear him or my friend say anything. After about what seemed like an eternity, I decide to open my eyes to see what's going on. That's when I see my friend, the guy who is driving, is pretending like he is sleeping too. I was dozing off in my bed with my girlfriend at the time when I heard her confess her love for me. She was pretty hammered, but she went into intricate detail about how she feels respected, enjoys the ex, and sees a serious future with me. The next morning I got yelled at for not cuddling, and that it was a major issue. I don't think she even knew of her confession. Lying in bed when I was a little girl and my stepdad, who must have been in there for half an hour, jumped out of the airing cupboard in the dark, roaring, and terrified me. Still hate people jumping out on me / suddenly revealing themselves. Not me, but once during a sleepover in middle school this girl pretended to sleep to try and catch us saying bad things about her. We never did. We really liked her, but we did say I wish Catherine was still awake, at which point she snapped awake and was all "Ha. You don't really love me." Not me, but was told to me by someone at a party. Apparently someone else who wasn't his father went upstairs with his mother while he was sleeping in the living room. Turns out it was his uncle, not his father's brother, his mother's brother.